Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Mess. So, Derek got a fun and exciting video for you guys today, and one that I think you're going to be particularly interested in. That is because about a year ago, I talked about Rich Whitehouse's BigInstinct Emulator, which is emulating perfectly the arcade original Killer Instinct and Killer Instinct 2. But for the longest time, that was behind a Patreon paywall, and I know some people didn't really love that overall structure or ethos. But over the weekend, this thing came out as a 1.0 version, free for absolutely everybody. So I'm going to be talking about the emulator, explaining how to set it up that way you can play arcade perfect Killer Instinct and Killer Instinct 2 in your home. Because honestly, these games are beloved, and they are beloved for a reason. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, you got a Patreon link down below as well. But I will say right off the top, I have never been an incredible Killer Instinct player. I know a lot of people love this game and they are great at it. It's just one of those things. I have never personally been the biggest actual performer in this game. So if you're looking for top quality play, you are not going to be getting it here. But if you're looking for the best quality emulator to play Killer Instinct and Killer Instinct 2, then absolutely BigInstinct is going to be the only option. And just so you know, by default, it does put these scan lines over top the image, and I left them there because a lot of times you guys want to see filtration on videos, so I figured I would give you guys a treat on this one. And I will say, even if I'm not the best Killer Instinct player by far, the controls are absolutely responsive. There really isn't any latency in them, so if you're better than me, you'll be pulling off a lot more moves than I will as well. But it really is awesome that Rich Whitehouse made this thing public, and he always said that that was the plan moving forward in the future. Now, if you are a Patreon member, you're going to get a couple extra features if you actually link your account together, but otherwise, if you just want to sit down and play Killer Instinct or Killer Instinct 2, either against the CPU or with friends, which is going to be a hell of a lot more fun, that's something you're going to be able to do today. But I'm going to go over the emulator and how to get it set up because it is a bit tricky. And just so you know, in the description below, I did leave a link to Rich Whitehouse's page where you can grab both BigInstinct as well as the actual tool to be able to take the CHD or compress hunks of data files and actually turn them into a playable game. So you'll see here, it does say that Patreon subscribers get a couple extra bits overall, including a stereo audio module, but otherwise, if you just want to play this thing for free, you really aren't missing anything that's going to affect your fun. And below that, you're going to see that there is current versions 1.0 for Windows as well as Linux. Doesn't seem like there's a Mac version yet, but I'm sure somebody might be able to run that through some sort of translation layer. So if you have played around with this on Mac and it did work, leave me a comment down below just so I can actually maybe pin it to the channel because people are going to ask me about that. And you'll see here for both Windows and Linux, you have Big Hard Maker, a hilarious name which is going to allow you to actually compile the games. And that's definitely something that you're going to need to do because by default, the emulator isn't going to run anything until you get it ready. But I will say, again, I love what Rich Whitehouse does between Big PMU, the Atari Jaguar and Atari Jaguar CD emulator, as well as BigInstinct. This dude absolutely just hits a grand slam every time he releases a new emulator, and it really makes me wonder what he might be working on next. And I will say, of all the emulators out there, the front end on this one is absolutely stellar. It gives you basically every option you could possibly need to be able to bind your controls, stuff like NetPlay and everything else. It definitely is all-encompassing and lets you basically set these games up however you want. And the nice thing is, if you put this thing on something like an OLED television, all of the blacks and dark color tones here in Killer Instinct, because it is a darker game, look absolutely spectacular. And in my time testing this last year and testing it again before I did this video, if there's any issues with the emulation, if there's any visual glitches or audio glitches, I just can't find them in the game whatsoever. So after the first soundtrack sample, I'll go over Big Hard Maker so you can basically take those CHD files and get them ready. But first, I just want to talk about how impressive this truly is. And if you understand Killer Instinct better than I do, it'll definitely be more fun. But there's always something about the CPU in this game that absolutely feels like it is trying to destroy you and get your quarters where you even get a chance to play the game. So if I am missing something about this one, leave me a comment down below and tell me what it is, because I've always enjoyed the overall aesthetic and concept of Killer Instinct and Killer Instinct 2, but I've just never been very good at the game whatsoever. But sometimes that just is how it works. Sometimes you're not great at something, even though you do love it. Let's do the first of two soundtrack samples. Go ahead and listen closely. I think it sounds basically perfect, but again, you have a lot more ears than I do. So go ahead and listen for 45 seconds, and I'll be right back with more setup process on this one. I mean, honestly, that sounds good to me, but you leave me a comment down below and you tell me what you think. So you'll see here I have two folders, KINST and KINST2. Those do not come with BigInstinct. Those are actually the MAME CHD files, and when you unpack them, you have folders for both KINST as well as the sequel, and inside of those you have these CHD files. You have to keep this folder structure the way you see it on the screen, or else when you run BigHardMaker, it will not find the files, and you have to make sure they are good versions of the game. If not, BigHardMaker will tell you it's an inaccurate checksum and not work. So when you have your files, go ahead and double click BigHardMaker. It'll do everything automatically for you in a window, and then go ahead and double click BigInstinct, and then you'll be into the actual emulation software. And I will say the amount of options here is absolutely all-encompassing, but if you just want to sit down and play, you can basically do that without ever having to touch anything, as I would say Rich White House has set up every single setting the way that you would kind of want it to default to. And if you go around here, you're going to have so many different options, including the input option, where you can basically dial in all of your inputs, and if you want to, even rebind every single button. Although I will say, based upon how I would want to play Killer Instinct to interact with it, every single button is exactly how I would want it bound. But if you want to change anything up, you can basically play around with this to your heart's content. And that really is the nice thing about this emulator. It has so many different diverse ways for you to kind of articulate the experience you want to have, whether you're playing a one-player game or a two-player game. So just remember, you can kind of play around in there and decide what you want to do. One of the places you definitely want to check out is under System and Settings. This is where you're going to be able to change all of the game's options that are not in the test menu. And you're going to see here you have a dip switch option as well. By default, everything here is set how I would want it to be set, but if we go down below, you'll see test mode is set to 0. If you set it to 1 and reset the emulation, you'll end up in the game's actual test menu, where you can change things like difficulty and other functions. And I know that's not something that you guys are all familiar with, so I'll go over that in just a bit. But when you want to play a game, you hit load software, and you either pick KINST.BigHard or KINST.BigHard2, and then you'll be either into Killer Instinct or Killer Instinct 2. And once you get these games running and everything is set up correctly, you can just sit down and start having fun with it. But again, don't forget, all of the options for the actual gameplay as far as difficulty settings are concerned are going to be in the test menu, because this is not a home port. It doesn't have an options menu when you start the game, like basically any other arcade game. But as far, again, as the performance, the visuals, the audio, the input latency here are concerned, there is no other way you'd want to play the original Killer Instinct outside of original arcade hardware. For the fact that this thing does scale really well to different resolutions, I would say, unless you're a hardcore collector, I would just go straight to BigInstinct versus actually trying to go out and buy Killer Instinct or Killer Instinct 2 PCBs. Especially for the fact that if they have the original hard drives on them, it is a when, not an if, those hard drives are going to fail. Then you need to convert them over into something solid state to revive them. But honestly, I love that this works. It is so impressive, and I'd love to see some other arcade emulators out there that focus on just basically a few boards as standalone emulation. You leave me a comment down below and you tell me what board that would be if you had the choice. Let's do one more soundtrack sample so you can hear the music and sound effects in Killer Instinct 2, since we already did the original. And I'll be right back with a couple more tips and tricks about that test menu, because trust me, you're definitely going to want to be able to get in there and change the settings around. So if you actually want to get into the test menu, you're going to come down here into System and Settings, and you're going to move down until you get to dip switches. From there, you go ahead and put test menu from 0 to 1, and then you'll reset the emulation. And that will basically allow you to get back into the test menu and change any settings you want to. Just be aware, to get back out of the test menu, you have to go back into System and Settings and turn dip switch from 1 to 0, or else it'll keep boot looping here the entire time you're in the test menu, because it was a physical switch on the cabinet that you had to switch to be able to get in and out of test. So it is basically a soft dip here that you're going to deal with in emulation. If you pay attention to the tutorial, you're going to be playing Killer Instinct and Killer Instinct 2 on your PC today, and you're absolutely going to be loving it. So again, in the description below, you have the link to be able to grab the emulator as well as BigHardMaker to set the CHDs up. and it's one of those things, if you want the extra features, you can go to Rich Whitehouse's Patreon and go ahead and grab them there. But if you just want to sit down and start playing some incredible Killer Instinct and Killer Instinct 2 arcade emulation, that day has come. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below, but otherwise I'll see you guys next time. Hope you enjoyed the video. Bye-bye.